Hey, what's going on, everybody? So now that you learned how to send your cold emails to get the meeting, we're going to dive into the sales skills, and it's going to cover everything from what to do and what to say in your first meeting all the way to closing the deal. So you scheduled your first meeting with a potential customer or potential client. What do you do now? And of course, what you need to do before you even talk to anybody is you want to plan out your sales cycle. So let me show you exactly what I mean by this. So when you're planning your sales cycle, you got to know that every sales cycle is going to be a little bit different depending on your product or service. Some sales cycles are going to be a little bit longer, like 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, especially if you are going the business development route. It might take a little bit longer, and other ones are going to be shorter. It might be a 1-day close, a 1-week close, or even a 1 month. And again, it really depends on the product or service that you are selling. To give you an example, when I was at Oracle, some of the deals that I did took many months to close. Some of my friends that worked at Square, they closed about 20 deals every single month, but then they were a lot smaller and a lot easier. So you really got to know what you're selling, who you're selling it to, and plan out how long it should take. And that's going to be based on industry averages. So go ahead and just Google that. Or once you get a little bit more experience, you're going to understand what is best for your sales cycle. So planning your sales cycle. So in the beginning, I showed you this little chart where in the beginning, you're going to generate your meetings with cold emails. Then it's going to be qualification, discovery call, presentation, close, follow-up, negotiations, implementation. And finally, if the deal didn't close after your presentation, then the deal will be closed after all the follow-ups. Now, because you already learned how to send cold emails to get the meeting, we're going to go ahead and ignore that here. And for the purpose of this course, we're going to focus on 3 different aspects. And that's going to be the qualification, discovery call, and the presentation and close. Now, to clarify exactly what I mean by the qualification call, after you send an email to somebody and you schedule a meeting with them, you're going to schedule a 10 to 15 minute phone call. And during this phone call, what you're going to do is you're going to quickly identify if there is a fit to work with each other. And how you're going to do that is you're going to discover their pains, how much budget they have, and their decision-making process. And after that, you want to get all the correct stakeholders in the meeting for the discovery call. Now, it's going to be a 3-step process when you use this type of sales cycle, and typically it's reserved for larger businesses. So on the first call, you might have a sales development rep or a business development rep or an assistant or someone lower to take a 15-minute call with a prospect to see if it's worth your time to hop on the discovery call. And the reason is because the discovery call is going to be 30 to 60 minutes, and this is where you really dive into people's issues and to see whether or not you can solve them. So in the qualification call, you just got a brief idea of whether or not it's a fit to move on to the next stage. And in the discovery call, that's when you're going to dive a lot deeper. So 30 to 60 minutes, and dive deep into the customer's pain, budget, decision-making process, similar to the qualification call, except you're going really in-depth in the technical aspects of what exactly is wrong in their business and how you can solve for it. And really, you're just further qualifying if you can actually solve their problem. And during the discovery call, either you're going to identify if there's a fit or not. And sometimes maybe you're not the best person to help them out, and you could tell them right there. So after you do the discovery call, you figure out all their pain points. Then you want to, at the end of the call, you want to schedule a meeting with all the stakeholders on it and give the presentation. Now, the presentation is going to be 30 to 60 minutes. It really varies. Some of the presentations I've done can literally last 3 hours when I was at Oracle. Other ones last 30 minutes. So it depends on your product and how complex it is. So in that meeting, you're going to deliver the presentation and show them how you're going to solve their pains that you discovered during the discovery call. And at the end of the presentation, either you're going to close the deal right there, or you move into the next step in the sales process. And the next step, what I mean by that is like negotiations or any type of consulting or implementation calls, depending on what you are selling. Now, this is the longer version of the sales cycle, and I want to show you a quicker one for those who are maybe solo entrepreneurs or startups. Here is a shorter version of the sales cycle you can do. After you schedule a meeting with someone, you can actually just dive into the discovery call. And typically you can do this if you have the skill for it. Rather than scheduling a 10 to 15 minutes to qualify them to go to a discovery call, you could just take a 30-minute call right there on the spot to dive deep into their pains. And if you're a startup, this is definitely the one I recommend for you. But if you're a big company like Oracle, I would recommend the previous sales cycle. So discovery discovery call in this situation is going to be 30 minutes. You dive deep into the customer's pain, their budget, and decision-making process, and you're really just, same thing, you're qualifying if there's a good fit here. And if you do realize that there's a good fit to work with each other, then you're going to move on to the presentation, which is going to be 30 to 60 minutes. You deliver the presentation, and then you close the deal, or you move on to the next sales process. So I want to show you guys the difference between the structured sales cycle, which is a longer one, and then the quick sales cycle. Structured one is going to be qualification, discovery, and then the presentation. It's a 3-step process. And the quick sales cycle is going to be discovery call, and then the presentation, and then the close. Again, if you are a large company, I recommend the structured style where you have different people handling different processes of the sales cycle. But if you are a solo entrepreneur or consultant or a startup, I would recommend the quick sales cycle because it's a lot quicker and gets the job done fast.